Hi Shogi fans, welcome back to my video. Today I'm gonna talk about a professional Shogi game. This game was played between Hiroto Ikegaki and Naoya Hujiwara. Ikegaki is a newly promoted 4Dan, also a dedicated ranging Rook specialist, and he shows very useful tactics in this game, so let's begin. And Ikegaki plays black, and he goes for 4th fire Rook. And this move shows white might go for a slow game, so he prepares for it by silver to 6-7. But all of a sudden white pushes this pawn, and it also leaves a possibility of a quick attack, so he completes castling. But white still doesn't want to decide what he's gonna do, and he plays bishop to 3-3, so left side Mino or even Anaguma castle is possible, although the edge pawn has been pushed. But nowadays Anaguma castle with the edge pawn seems to be normal. And after seeing this, Ikegaki pushes this pawn, assuming white is going to build Anaguma castle or something. And since black pushes this pawn, white decides to initiate the attack because this pawn can easily be targeted, and he just opens up the line, right? So it's a very weak point, so that makes sense. And pawn takes and silver develops. I talked about a similar position in the past video, and in that video I recommended pawn push right here, and when silver comes out, pawn promotion was great, and knight has to take it, and this pawn drop, and basically the knight is killed, so white has to keep going, and pawn promotion and rook comes out, and a knight drop was a great solution, but in this case it doesn't work because the silver is already here and this square is unprotected, so something like this doesn't work. White can just keep going and he will be able to break through the file, so that's the big difference. So don't fall into the trap, and always pay more attention to where the left silver is. This is critical position. So of course Ikegaki knows it and didn't push this pawn, and instead he defends this pawn by silver to 7-6, and white keeps going. And this pawn push seems to be strong, but white can easily take this advantage, and first he can trade bishops. Knight takes, and bishop drop to 5-5 is strong, and black has to defend, and he does something to block the line, and then white can take this pawn, and silver takes and rook takes. In this case, black can't make a fork, right? Because the bishop is already here. Something like this doesn't happen because of this pawn, so white will be fine. So instead of going for this aggressive line, black defense by go to 6-7, and Ikegaki accepts the trade, and Rook takes and pawn drop. This movement was a little surprising to me because this silver drop was obvious, right? And here, all of a sudden, Ikegaki plays a defensive move, pawn to 4-6. Like I said, this line is scary and it poses a great threat against the king, so it's reasonable to block it. And I was wondering what he was going to do after this. White fixes his defense, and he plays silver to 4-7. At first, I didn't know what his plan was, and he pushes this edge pawn to prevent this bishop from coming forward, and black plays rook to 3-8. Amazing, because now this square is weak, so he positions his rook to target the pawn. White tries to cover the square by rook to 8-4, but black's attack is faster, and he can gain control. And this pawn drop was kind of a trap. If he takes it, then he can drop the pawn to 3-4 to take the initiative. And if black doesn't take this pawn, he can possibly drop the silver to 3-4 or 2-4 to defend the pawn. And of course, Ikegaki didn't, and instead drops the gold to pile up on the square. And again, he plays defensive move, and this time he uses the gold like this, because this gold was inactive and his defense is not good enough, right? So it can easily lead to unexpected reversal. So he decides to reposition and the gold and to bring it closer to the king. And white reinforces his defense more and go to 5-8. Now his defense is surprisingly better, and it's working great, and these generals are connected to each other well, and decides to attack, and pawn takes, and silver comes out. Ikegaki can't penetrate the third file because his defense is strong, but the silver goes to the left instead, and silver takes and pawn takes, and bishop to 6-2. Since this pawn is loose, Ikegaki opens up the diagonal, and if white plays bishop to 2-2, for example, I'm not really sure, but maybe he can simply play go to 3-5, and when silver takes, he can make a check. If he drops a pawn, this silver will be confined, so black should be fine. So maybe that's because white plays bishop to 6-2, and Ikegaki targets the pawn, and again bishop comes out. It's actually looking at the king, so Ikegaki needs to be careful, and he decides to use the silver and drop it to 7-5. After rook runs, pawn push to 6-4 to block the bishop. He has to take it, and bishop to 5-5. And this pawn push is great because it blocks the protection of the rook, so he can take this pawn. But before that, he decides to shift his focus on fourth file instead. And then he can make a check. This fork is strong, and basically asking white to drop something. Now his ability to attack gets significantly weaker, so he can calmly promote the bishop to pick up these pieces, and he pushes this pawn. This is very vague, but it prevents the next knight drop to 4-6. If he doesn't push this pawn, this rook is going to be taken. So it seems weak, but it's very important. And for black, third file is very weak, so he decides to defend by pawn drop. Now his king is safe, and the bishop goes in the opposite direction, so he can still prepare for harsh attack. And he also picks up a minor piece, and now horse is kind of in the pre-useless position, and this square is no longer covered, right? So he drops a knight to attack the silver. If silver runs, then pawn drop will be possible. But instead, king runs. Basically, he's asking black to take the silver. Otherwise, he's going to move back with it to 3-2. So Ikegaki takes it, and gold recaptures and pawn drop. If rook takes it, and silver drop to 5-5 is possible, and rook runs, and black can activate the horse. But white takes it by the gold, so he was able to activate the horse without dropping it. And he fights back. Although he loses one general, his defense is still solid because his rook is inactive, and white doesn't have enough resources to keep attacking the king, and the horse is still squares away. So instead, he decides to fix his defense. But this silver drop is good, since gold is not a diagonal piece. Simple drop like this can be very effective. And he uses this gold to defend. Also opened up her line to attack the horse. black keeps attacking, and this time he targets the silver. Since there is no effective move for defense, so white has to keep attacking. And his king is once again exposed, and this silver drop is strong. If rook runs like this, it's going to be checkmated. If he drops back, this lance drop is great. The silver is free, but the king is going to be checkmated. So he has no choice but to take the horse, and silver takes. And white looks for a clue, but this pawn push is not so strong. This is more of a defensive move because it also opens up the diagonal, right? But Ikegaki didn't care and drops the knight to make a check. If king runs this way, black can reactivate the bishop, silver. If white does something, then this promotion is strong. If gold takes it, this check is very good. If he drops something, again, the lance drop is critical, so white is hopeless. So instead of 3-3, the king goes to 1-3, and here Ikegaki shows very interesting but also useful tactic, which is lance drop to not 1-8 but to 1-5. The square is the weakest point, so this direct drop is very strong. Pawn takes and pawn recaptures. This pawn is supported by two pieces, right? So this square is now defenseless. This doesn't work because black can keep going. So instead of taking the dealing with the pawn, the king runs, and Ikegaki makes a check. He makes a desperate move, knowing he's losing, and knight promotion, gold takes, and again lance drop over the pawn. Pawn drop, and he sacrifices the lance. Silver takes, pawn push. And silver drop. And Ikegaki successfully removes the threat. White takes the lance, but it's not a check, so Ikegaki tries to checkmate the king first. And here white resigns, and even if king runs, this sacrifice can be made and checkmate. Alright, that's all for this video. The fact that he survived the notoriously competitive 3-down league is really inspiring, and I hope Raging Rook will regain its place at the highest level in the near future. I hope it's been helpful. As always, thanks for watching and see you all next time. Bye.